There are so many of you. I have to say, I did a convention in Australia recently, and I turned up because Billy Piper couldn't do it. And when I came up on stage, they put up Billy Piper's photograph behind me, which is hysterical, isn't it? Let's face it.
That's slightly mean, isn't it?
Well, what can you say?
But they're all here to see you, Ian, so we'll open the floor straight away to questions. So if you have a question for Ian, please feel free to stick your hand up, and I'll bring the microphone around too. So put your hands high straight away. So gentlemen.
While you were filming Doctor Who, how does the Doctor offset, like, normal?
Say again?
How does the actor that plays the Doctor act normally, like, off filming?
Oh, what is Matt Smith like? Is that what you're asking? Oh, well, look, I'll tell you. It was only about the second or third Doctor Who that he'd done, so he was still pretty nervous, still finding his way, but he was really terrific to work with. There was one particular moment I always remember when he attacked the Dalek. He was given a ratchet spanner to attack the Dalek, and there were two ratchet spanners. There was a proper ratchet spanner, a metal one, a long metal one, and they said, look, just use that to go in for the hit, but when you hit the Dalek, just use the rubber one, won't you? He said, of course I will. What do you think he did? He actually hit the Dalek with a real metal one. And inside the Dalek, there's a man, of course, the operator. And all you could hear was, no, that's the wrong spanner. Because inside it was reverberating inside. He came out, it was like seeing stars. It was a pretty interesting moment, I have to say.
And your portrayal of Winston Churchill was fantastic.
Oh, come on now.
But you've got loads of positive feedback from it. And
I have to say, it's the gift that keeps on giving. I've gone to so many conventions all over the world due to Doctor Who and due to Winston Churchill. It's been amazing, I have to say.
Where did you kind of draw your inspiration from and do your research? How did you go about doing it?
I did my research because I actually did a play called Never So Good just before I did this at the National Theatre. And I played Winston Churchill there. Jeremy Irons played Harold McMillan. And I remember going to Blenheim Palace there to where he's buried, very close by in a little church by there. And it was a November day, very dark and very misty. And I went to the graveyard, and he's buried next to his wife, Clementine, who's next door to him. And it was, when I turned up at about 5 o'clock, it was very dark, and there was this mist coming out of the grave. It was really spooky to me. And as I looked down, I could hear this, suddenly I could hear this whisper that said, "Don't fuck it up, boy."
I don't know how to follow that really, other than just with this question for this young person here.
What was it like working with the Daleks?
Just repeat the question.
What was it like working with the Daleks?
Oh, the Daleks. I have to say I was really excited because to be in a Doctor Who show is pretty special these days because it's such a high-rated show. But to be in a show with the Daleks themselves, I mean, my Doctor when I was growing up was Tom Baker, so to be in a show with the Daleks was really special. I was very excited when I got to work with them, and I've become very close friends with some of the operators now who've been working with the Daleks for 15 years. But I have to say, in this age of technology, it's really funny seeing them operate because they move the Daleks just by they move them with their feet. That's so they're moving around with their feet. It's hysterical in this day and age of technology, I have to say.
We have a question here from just in the middle.
Is there anyone that you wish you could have worked with or could work with now?
Is there anybody that I'd like to work with now? Well, you know, I have to say I've been hugely lucky over the years. I mean, to actually, if you can get this one for a sort of a day, a summer's day in Malibu, in America, in this big house and this swimming pool, and this beautiful lady gets out of the swimming pool and comes across, and then she takes out a silver revolver and fires it at me where there's an apple on my head and it explodes. And that woman has to be Cameron Diaz, and she's come out of the pool 10 or 15 times. That's a pretty good day for me, I have to say. So I've been hugely lucky. Johnny Depp, I worked with him, Tom Cruise, I worked with him. I mean, you know, I'm a friend of the stars now, come on now. But mine, I'm sort of fast pass age, so I'm getting pretty past it too.
And we have a question over here for the gentleman.
What were your thoughts when you got asked to do Winston Churchill and Doctor Who?
What were my thoughts when I got asked to do it?
Yes.
Well, as I said before, it was really exciting because you must understand that now Doctor Who has become such an iconic show. It's a really big show, and they've got the cream of the crop to choose from. If you look at the actors that have been in it recently, I mean, John Hurt, all these people, I mean, they can get who they want. So I was hugely fortunate and lucky to be in it. And to be asked back into it again, to play, to reprise the role was even better, to go back again a second time, to be welcomed by Matt Smith, you know, like sort of open arms, which is great.
And a question for you over here.
What was your favourite Doctor Who episode to film?
I suppose the first one I did, because it was like being in a real bunker. It was like being in the war rooms, which are in London, of course. But we created it near Cardiff in a sort of studio that they had down there. But it was amazing because now I had to say that where we filmed, there was an embargo. You couldn't smoke in there. It was banned. You couldn't smoke in the building that we were filming in. And of course, Winston Churchill is famous for his cigar smoking. So how are we going to do that? So the special effects people rigged up a special cigar, incredibly, that I sucked on, and this smoke came out of it. But we were pretty nervous to begin with. But, well, how can we make this work? Because you've got to see the guy smoking a cigar. That's Winston Churchill. So very lucky we have that. Yes. Hello at the back.
We have a little young lady here with a question.
Yes, of course.
Which is your favourite Tom Baker episode?
Oh, do you know what? Well, all of them. All of them, I have to say. And may I say how many times I see that long scarf being worn by so many people. Congratulations for that. I think someone's been doing a lot of knitting, and thank goodness for that.
Yeah, a question on the other side, please.
Hello, do you think the new Doctor will ever meet Winston Churchill?
Well, you know what, I saw Moffat the other day, who's the creator and the writer of it. And I said to him, you know the world and his wife wants to see Winston Churchill back again. Come on, John, no, get me back in the show, for goodness sake. And I have to say that to be back in it with Peter Capaldi, I mean, how many of you actually know that Peter Capaldi won an Oscar? I mean, that's pretty good stuff, isn't it, for a start? He won an Oscar for a short film he directed a few years ago. So we got an Oscar winner playing Doctor Who. I think that's pretty damn good to begin with.
And a question for the gentleman here in the middle.
Hi there. I'm just wondering your thoughts on working with Jim Carrey.
Oh my goodness me, what a man, what a crazy individual. I have to say that he never stops. From the moment he gets up to the moment he gets to bed, he's on it, 24 hours a day. I have to say that normally when you work on a film set, now these are big film sets where you rehearse a scene and then you go away for 2 or 3 hours while they do the lighting. And so you rehearse a scene, you work it all out, you know where you're going to be, and then they send you away to do the lighting. And most people go back to their trailers, you know, where they have their chefs and their massage people and their whatever. Me, I just got a little tiny room somewhere, but that's most of the actors who've got these big trailers and that. Jim Carrey, he doesn't go anywhere. He entertains the troops. He does stand-up, he does stick, he does the whole thing. And he does it all throughout the day. He doesn't ever calm down. He's frenetic. So that was pretty interesting. They're walking out of me already. Don't go, come back. Was it something I said? So you don't like Jim Carrey? Okay, well it's somewhere. You know, I mean, come on now.
I have a question for this gentleman here.
Would there be any other doctors besides Tom Baker that you'd like to be Winston Churchill for?
Oh yeah, well I think so. I mean, I've worked with Peter Davison I've worked with before. Paul McGann I've worked with before. Colin Baker I've worked with. So all of these guys work in separate areas, so I like to work them all as Doctor Who, I have to say. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of all of those Doctors.
Questions, Jeff, over here?
With sci-fi being one of the longest running genres in TV history, how important do you think it is for young people?
Could you just repeat that for me? Just what was it again?
With sci-fi being one of the longest genres in TV history, how important do you think it is for young people?
Well, sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
Oh, I think it's hugely important. Absolutely, no. I mean, just look at you here today. Most people in this room are going to be sci-fi fans. I mean, one of the most wonderful jobs I ever had was playing Baron Harkonnen in Dune. I mean, to me, that was a huge deal. And you know, I saw the movie, right? I saw the movie with the David Lynch movie. So when I knew they were doing the series, I really championed to play the role of the Baron because I wanted to fly. And so when I got the role, I was terribly excited, and I sent all these emails to the director saying, "How are you going to fly me?" Because I heard that being flown up by wires for big guys is not so great. Certainly down below, it really hurts. You know, so I was a little bit nervous about that. And I never heard another word. So when I got to the set in Prague, they said, "We're going to take you in today, we're going to show you how you're going to fly." Very excited to go in. And when I walked into this big warehouse where we were going to film it, there was like a seesaw crane, right? One end there were all the weights, and the other end there was like a sort of a bicycle seat. And they said, "You're going to put you on that, and then the crane will rise up like that, and then you'll just walk." And they could do that with me, and I could go anywhere I could within that. It was extraordinary. And I was quite high, and it was really fantastic. I had a sort of harness on at the back, right? So that was great. Until the next day I came back and I said, where's the bicycle seat? They've taken them off the bicycle seat. And they said, "Well, the problem is, you looked as though you were sitting and you looked a bit too comfortable." So I said, what are you going to do now? So they said, "Well, we've got this." And they pulled out a racing bicycle seat. Now, I don't know if any of you know what that's like. It's just a thin sliver of leather. That's all it is. So when you put it on, oh my God, ouch is all I can say. So I went up in the air and I wanted to come down straight away. I can have to tell you that now. Until they put some metal straps on my legs, and that really helped. But it was a baptism of fire to start with, I tell you.
You have a question from an happy dressed person here?
Oh, I know you. I've seen you before, haven't you? Big round of applause for the Weeping Angel.
What would be your top 3 Doctor Who enemies?
My top 3
Enemies of the Doctor.
Oh, enemies of the Doctor. Well, you're wearing one of them for a start, aren't you? And the second and the third. All 3 I give to the Weeping Angel. It's as simple as that.
Any questions, gentlemen in front?
Were you a fan of Doctor Who when you were younger?
No, absolutely hated it. Move on. Let's go to the next question.
Okay, and a question for some gentlemen here?
If the TARDIS was real, where would you go and to what time period?
Oh my God, I go to the Caribbean island and throw away the key. It's as simple as that.
And we have a question from Ms. President here.
You've worked with some of the biggest names in this generation.
Could you just say that one last time, slowly?
You have worked with some of the biggest names in acting in this generation.
Has everybody ever heard that? Did you all hear that phrase at all or not? Let me just say what he said. I work with... No, go on.
What's that journey been like for you from your very first acting role up to today?
Say again?
What's that journey been like for you from your very first role right up to today?
But I have to say I'm hugely fortunate because I actually started in the theatre. My first job was mucking out. I was at the Salisbury Playhouse in Wiltshire, and it was Cinderella, and they had a little coal bunker at the back, right, where they kept the 2 ponies that actually dragged the carriage, called the ponies and the carriage of Cinderella. And my job was to muck out the stables at the back. And I thought to myself, I can't get any lower than shoveling the shit in the theatre, which is what I was doing. And it was from there I rose up. So I was hugely fortunate. Theatre to begin with, Royal Shakespeare to begin with, then into small bits of television. I did a wonderful series called Edge of Darkness, which landed me hugely onto the map. So that was great. My first big break into American features was Ace Ventura and Nature Calls. And from there I did other features all over the world. So I mean, I've been hugely fortunate, you know, so I'm very, very lucky that I've had a career that I've had, you know, and my kids have all gone through, you know, college and aren't going to be actors, and I'm through.
Any question from the gentleman next to him?
Would you like to play the Doctor at all, or any of his companions? One of his companions?
Well, look, again, what can I say? What can I say? I'd be a pretty chubby Doctor, wouldn't I? Let's face it. I don't think I could fit in the TARDIS, let alone anything else. I don't think I could get through the door, you know, to get into the TARDIS. No, I'd have to, now, do you know what? I'd rather play a really evil person up against the Doctor. I think that'd be a lot more fun. I've had such fun playing baddies. I'd like to stay playing baddies, really, which is much more fun, much more entertaining. And goodness knows I played some baddies in the past.
We have a question from the gentleman here.
Hi, would you prefer on stage or being on screen, and do you have any preferable genre at all?
Well, do you know what? The thing is, in my early days, in my 20s and early 30s, I did nothing but theatre, and I loved it. I really loved it. And then I started to have children, and I realised that I couldn't make a living in the theatre. I had to start doing TV and film in order to give them a life and my own self a life. And so I stopped doing theatre, didn't do any theatre for 17 years, right? And then I got an offer to play Winston Churchill at the National Theatre, and I thought, this is too good to miss. So after 17 years, I stood on that stage as Winston Churchill, and quite frankly, I was crapping myself. And that first preview I did, I couldn't believe what I did. It was amazing, and I couldn't believe it. But since that time, I've been fortunate to, and I loved it. And I've done like 2 or 3 plays since. I worked at the Globe, and I've also done, you know, several other things as well. Hang on a minute, we've got the boss in there. We've got the big boss. Big round of applause for the man who's responsible for the whole thing here today. Yes. What time is it?
It is 25 to 4.
Yeah, I gotta go. He's come to take me away. It's been lovely talking to you, and thank you very much. I have to go now. Thank you very much.